Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Have you ever literally felt your heart pounding out of your chest just from looking at a trading chart? Well, if you have, you've experienced one of the most profound biological mismatches of our modern time. Today, we're exploring the deep, hardwired conflict between the primitive architecture of the human brain and the hyper-modern demands of financial trading. We're going to break down exactly why your biology is constantly fighting against your portfolio, and more importantly, how you can rewire it.
I want you to really think about that feeling for a second. Connect with that visceral, sweaty palm panic of a trade suddenly turning against you. Why does a simple number flashing red on a glowing screen trigger a response so intense that your stomach just completely drops? Think about it. It's not physical danger. There's no wild beast in the room with you. Yet your body reacts with this intense rush of adrenaline and sheer terror, acting exactly as if your very survival is on the line.
Listen, if you've ever beaten yourself up over having an emotional breakdown at the desk, I need you to stop right now. You aren't a weak or inherently bad trader. You're simply a modern human being operating on extremely ancient software. What feels like a massive personal flaw or some total lack of discipline is actually a highly successful inherited genetic blueprint. It's a primal survival mechanism that kept your ancestors alive, but just happens to be the exact opposite of what you need to succeed in the markets today.
To really understand this, we have to trace the evolutionary journey of the pain response. Go back millions of years. Even a microscopic organism like a hydra, when pricked with a tiny needle, physically shrinks and recoils. That's the raw genetic beginning of stimulus and response. Fast forward 150,000 years, and your caveman ancestor is sprinting away from a 1,300-pound saber-toothed tiger. That intense chaotic fear was absolutely necessary to avoid extinction. And today, well, you sit in a highly comfortable ergonomic chair, you look at a dipping line on a chart, and your brain fires off that exact same chaotic life-or-death panic.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our problem, this ancient software. It's a hardwired blueprint passed down through millions of generations. The simple truth is, those who didn't feel intense fear and pain from environmental threats, they didn't survive to pass on their genes. Therefore, your nervous system literally cannot tell the difference between an imminent physical attack in the jungle and the uncertainty of a financial loss. It just feels the threat and screams at you to react.
Just look at the stark contrast between the environment our brains were originally built for and the environment we actually trade in today. In the caveman reality, an unknown rustle in the bushes meant potential death. But in trading reality, a trade moving against you is just normal market probability. On the flip side, taking down a massive mammoth brought life-saving euphoria to the tribe. But in modern trading, a massive win triggers a huge dopamine trap that just makes you greedy, reckless, and overconfident.
Think about the absolute terror of standing on the ledge of a 100-story building, looking straight down at the street below. Your brain calculates the massive risk of a fatal fall, and your body completely locks up with fear. Well, to your primitive nervous system, risking capital in a highly volatile market feels exactly the same. Consciously, you're just mathematically calculating risk, but your biology feels like it's teetering right on the edge of that 100-story drop. It's a deeply, deeply physical experience.
Which brings us face to face with what we can call the uncertainty monster. Because our ancestors survived by controlling their environment and completely eliminating unknowns, we are practically built to be terrified of uncertainty. So when you hear a bump in the dark, your brain doesn't just think, oh, it's a harmless deer. No, it conjures up a monster. In the markets, you project this exact same deadly, ancient threat onto the completely normal, entirely harmless fluctuations of price.
When the uncertainty monster attacks your portfolio, your caveman brain kicks into absolute overdrive. It screams, I must control the outcome or I die. And guys, this is exactly where the revenge trading spiral begins. You take a loss, then another, and suddenly it's no longer just a trade, it's a fight for your life. You double down, you force trades, you completely abandon your plan. You aren't executing strategy anymore. Your brain is literally trying to wrestle a saber-toothed tiger to the ground.
So, how do we fix this? Well, we have to look at the ultimate avatar of patience in nature. Consider the huge difference between an African lion and an American cougar. A lion actively chases its prey, expending massive amounts of energy and aggression. But the cougar? The cougar just climbs a tree above a known trail, observes the patterns of the forest, and waits in ambush. It waits and waits and waits for the exact perfect setup. When that cougar finally drops from the tree, it aims for a quick knockout. But what if it misses, and that deer takes off? A white-tailed deer can easily run at 40 miles per hour.
Does the cougar aggressively chase it down and completely exhaust itself fighting a losing battle? No way. It simply accepts the small loss, it climbs right back up the tree, resets its mindset, and calmly awaits the next setup.
So the crucial point is this. For the cougar, waiting is doing. Patience is not laziness. It's a highly active, totally mindful state of readiness. The perfect trading mind has to accept that not trading, just sitting in silence and waiting for the market to give you a clear opportunity, is just as much an active part of trading as clicking the buy button.
But remember, our modern human minds absolutely hate waiting. The symptoms of this restless caveman brain are so incredibly relatable. You sit down to trade and there's no setup. The silence makes you incredibly uncomfortable. Suddenly you're checking emails, you're browsing the web, making random calls you really didn't need to make. Your mind starts drifting. You get bored. And to cure that boredom, you start forcing setups that aren't even there just to get that quick dopamine fix of being in a trade. You've officially abandoned the cougar's tree.
To overcome this, you need a highly actionable blueprint. Step 1 is simple awareness. You have to notice the boredom or the panic arising before it takes over your body. Step 2 is absolutely critical. Use diaphragmatic breathing. This physical act literally interrupts the emotional tension and stops the fear response from taking over your thinking brain. Step 3 is shifting your newly calmed mind away from that desperate need for certainty and firmly into a probability mindset.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the core philosophy of a master trader. We constantly crave the illusion of certainty. We desperately want to know we're going to win, so we force trades to feel in control. But the market, by its very nature, is entirely uncertain. The reality of probability means accepting that you absolutely cannot control the outcome of a single isolated trade. All you can do is execute a proven edge over a large sample size.
This brings us to a profoundly calming realization. Think about this. Winning is just landing on the right side of probability. Losing is just landing on the wrong side of probability. That's the whole shebang. That is literally it. There is absolutely no reason to get overwhelmingly euphoric when you win, and no reason to feel the gut-wrenching terror of the uncertainty monster when you lose. It's simply mathematics playing out over time.
At the end of the day, you are the captain of your own destiny, and you have the power to upgrade your mental operating system. The market is always going to be uncertain, but the mind you bring to that market, that is entirely within your control. So the final question you have to answer is this. Will you let your inherited ancient software and the primal fear of the uncertainty monster completely run your portfolio, or will you put in the work to build the disciplined, patient, probability-based mind of a cougar?